Hi everybody and welcome back to my Witchy bookcase tour. So this is part 2. What I wanted to show you was this beautiful reading chair. Sometimes I sit here and read, sometimes I just sit here to select books. This chair is so special. This was the chair that I sat on next to my dad's deathbed. I know that sounds creepy, but nobody wanted the chair after my dad died, so I've got the chair now, and do you know what, I find so much comfort sitting in it. I love it. So I just thought I'd throw that into the mix when I'm talking about my library corner or my bookshelves. So in part 1 we did a lot of the books on this side of the library, and I spoke about how it was kind of mapping out my journey into witchcraft, from being like a lifetime artist from the age of being young enough to pick up a pencil to like recovery from trauma, and how that healing journey opened up the door, brought goddesses in. And I did this shelf here which has got some witchcraft and goddess books in. I looked again at the shelves last night and thought, where am I going next with this bookcase tour? And do you know what, I think I skipped a step, because this pile of books here which I want to show you, this was the reason why I left the Christian church. So I'm going to move these away from the front. You can see I've still got my one Bible here, but it's these top books that I want to talk about. These are my Eckhart Tolle books. Now, I don't know what prompted me to read these books. I think it might have been, there was a series that came up on podcasts of Oprah Winfrey talking to Eckhart Tolle, going through this book, A New Earth, chapter by chapter, and it was so fantastic sitting listening to Eckhart Tolle speak. So this was after I was divorced. I'd gone back into the Christian church for a few years, and I'd booked a baptism, but listening to this podcast and then buying the books and reading these Eckhart Tolle books, it made me realise that I viewed like a godhead or god figure as an energy, and an energy that I could feel tangibly in nature, in my garden, in my artwork, and that I did feel in a way that there was a part of us that if we could just disconnect from ourselves, there is like the watcher within us, that you can sometimes feel that separate energy, like we're part of a bigger pool of energy. And it's that just really began to make me question my understanding of Christian faith, and it's that pushed me back into nature and a pagan path. Because to be honest, every Sunday that I used to drive to church, I would hear a voice in my head saying, go for a run in nature, that's your church, that's where you'll find what you're seeking. Go to nature every Sunday. And then I would walk into church and be really irritated by some of the hypocrisy within the church, and leave bad tempered every Sunday with the same voice going, just go to the trees. So it was already calling me, it was echoing around my head, that call to nature. These kind of consolidated what I felt about energy. So these were really important books for me. They're sitting on a pile of Ryan Holiday books. You've got Discipline is Destiny, which I haven't read yet. The Obstacle is the Way is a fantastic book. Ego is the Enemy, another fantastic book. There's another Eckhart Tolle book here, Practicing the Power of Now. Dr. Wayne Dyer as well. And then books that Ryan Holiday recommends on his reading list, like Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and Man's Search for Meaning, The Lives of the Stoics. I kind of love Stoic philosophy as a way forward. I love Eckhart Tolle, all sitting on top of my Bible. So that's an interesting juxtaposition there, but I suppose they're linked on my path. Like I said, a bookcase can map out your journey literally from this to this and then out into all of this. It's no surprise I've got my nature books next to this, not done on purpose. I think it's just naturally just become that way. In front of this I have sort of the power of words. So these are, first of all, on the top I've got a Louise Hay Power Thoughts book. Now this I use for bibliomancy. I will flick through and just stop somewhere, and it normally gives like a great message. I am led to fulfilling experiences. I create a life filled with rewards. So I know these Power Thoughts by Louise Hay. You can buy this book. I think they also come in a deck format as well, but I just love this for bibliomancy. And then I've got poetry books here. I think my love of words, so I've always used words either to inspire artwork or actually in the artwork itself. I often will write poems to go along with pieces of artwork. So for me, art and the power of words, they're really vital, I think, for tapping into this creative realm that I love, that fills up a lot of my witchcraft. This book by Amanda Dalton is How to Disappear. It's one of my all-time favourite sort of poetry books. It's all done with poems, but it tells the story of a woman who is jilted at the altar, and how she becomes a woman that lives in a nest in the garden and refuses to ever go inside a house again. And it was inspired by a true news story, a tragic news story, and oh my gosh, I loved this so much. It's probably one of my all-time favourite poetry reads of all time. Sylvia Plath, Ariel. So I love the work of Sylvia Plath. That's her poems. Grief is the Thing with Feathers. This is by Max Porter. This is again sort of a story that's told through poetry of a dad whose wife dies, and it's the story of him and his boys told through poems, and a crow coming to them. So there's the Morrigan link in there. Got Audre Lorde, The Black Unicorn. So this is her poems. And then probably my favourite poet is Selena Godin. Oh, I love this woman's work. I'm going to link in the description box a performance piece of her performing her one of her poems. Please go and watch it. You won't regret it. It will blow your mind. She is a force of nature. Beautiful Still by Natasha Moscovici. I saw her perform her poems. She blew me away. This is Selena Godin again. 13 Pieces of Courage and Resistance. Pessimism is for Lightweights. Another book of her poetry. She is just awesome. And then I bought a couple of books by H.P. Lovecraft just to explore his bizarre tales, but also to try and decipher the meanings behind a tarot deck that I've got that is inspired by H.P. Lovecraft's work. I think it's the Dark Grimoire Tarot. So I've been doing some study of that, which isn't finished because I am a typical Sagittarian and I flit between my books. So the power of words, energy work, I view that as. Then led me to really exploring where the goddess came in, which is a bookshelf I showed you yesterday. But naturally as well, my garden. I've always been a gardener from a little girl. I gardened my mum's garden for her. Everywhere I've lived, even if I've only had like a windowsill, I've always set up a garden. And when I came out of this path, it was the garden that saved me. My gardening was the first thing I reconnected to when I came out of complete shock. So it's no surprise that these gardening and nature with witchcraft books formed a really big part of my first books that I ever bought. So let me take you through some of these books on my green witchery shelf really. Last year my goal was to work with flower essences more, and the year before was to work in the garden and to try and you know, just work out a way to how to make flower essences, how to work with the flowers I was growing in the garden. I'm really keen to use like my immediate vicinity for my witchcraft. I think if I'm growing my own plants, I know those plants, like I really feel their energy, then it's going to be so much more powerful. This is absolutely brilliant. This flower essence book, it is by Patricia Kaminsky and Richard Counts, and it is absolutely brilliant. It's brilliant because you can either search by what you want to help with, so like impatience or fear or discouragement, or you can search by the plants that you've got. You can find the plant name and see all the things that it can help with. So it gives you a two-pronged approach for finding the flowers that you can work with. Of course, you can also come up with your own associations. Some of my most powerful flower essences I've worked with, you can see here I've got up here in a notes bindweed, like associations that I make myself because I know the plants. But I highly recommend that book. It makes searching so much easier. Now, this herbalism book by Non Shaw is a book that I found for like 50p in a second-hand shop. It doesn't look particularly witchy, but oh my gosh, for a beginner into working with plants, it is absolutely fabulous. At the front, it gives you a real clear breakdown to how herbalism works and the history of herbalism. It also gives you advice on gathering herbs, how to make herbal preparations, so lots of ways of working with herbs, like alcohol-based extractions, how to make infused oils, how to do other preparations like pastes or hand and foot baths or steam inhalations, room sprays, gargles, all sorts of things. And then also it then gives you a breakdown of some of the most common plants. It is just so useful for just a 101 how-to book. It's brilliant. So when I saw exactly the same sort of format book in a charity shop a few weeks later, again for like £1, but this time on flower essences, I absolutely jumped at it. So again, it gives you a really nice breakdown of what flower essences are, their background. It takes you into different plants, all really highly illustrated. I just think they're really, really great books to work with. They are by this publisher, Element. So yeah, Element. So really, really fantastic. Following on that study of flower essences, I also got this one. This is about bark remedies and other flower essences. So this covers some of the key bark flower essence remedies and what they're used for. But it also gives you a history again. It gives you a how to make them section. So making flower essences. So it's not just a book talking about like the essences that you can buy. It does give you a breakdown. Of course, look, it's absolutely beautifully illustrated, step-by-step pictures, how to prescribe flower essences. It gives you lots and lots of different methods as well. A great one if you can find it. So all of these I kind of found second-hand or in charity shops. Healing Flowers A to Z. This is by Diane Steen. This is a complete guide to working with different flowers. It gives you gemstones to add as well, which I really liked. So each plant or flower has what it's used for, what gemstones to use as well. It links in the chakra system as well. So this kind of begins to layer how to use flowers with different things like stones, chakras. It's really good, as is this one. So this is Flower Wisdom, the definitive guidebook. This talks about the key plants and flowers that you will find in the Western Hemisphere. So we've got things like bluebell, lily, anemone, poppy, daffodil, iris, rose, and others. So it just gives you a slightly more detailed breakdown for each of the key flowers that you might find. So these are key flowers for me living in England. Like, these are key flowers that I grow in my garden. So chrysanthemums grow really easily here. I mean, buttercups, like, I've got so many buttercups I could literally never run out. So what it does, it gives you the botanical info for each plant, the origins, it gives you any folklore and history behind the plant, it gives you wealth and well-being of the plant and observations around the plant. I think if you have these types of plants growing in your vicinity, then it's just a really useful book to have. So you've got daisy, bluebell, anemone, poppy, snowdrop, lily, foxglove, honeysuckle, aquilegia, hellebore, peony, chrysanthemum, buttercup, marigold, daffodil, iris, geranium, violet, carnation, primrose, tulip, and rose. Literally, I think I have every single one of those flowers in my garden, so that was a no-brainer for me. This is one that I've just bought, so I haven't read this one, but it has had such good write-ups. This is Flower Essences from the Witch's Garden, Plant Spirits in Magical Herbalism. It's by Nicholas Pearson, and I can't wait to read this one. I think this might be one I need to read over the winter, so I'm all fired up for when the flowers come back next summer. So you've got things like plant spirit attunement, seed to flower meditation, invoking plant spirits with essences, visiting the world tree. You've got journey to the medicine garden, journey to Hecate's garden, journey to the forest of wisdom, cleansing and consecrating your tools, casting a circle, calling the quarters with plant spirits, charging crystals with essences, the Great Rite, chalice and blade version, and the Great Rite, the 3 chalices version, rose bath for drawing love, prosperity candle spell, protection bottle with tree essences, and so on and so on. Like, it goes on. So obviously this really takes like my garden into the next realm of witchiness, and I'm really excited about that one. So like I said, I really love working with spirit of place. I'm very much like the soil under my feet is where the magic is at. So I've got this book. I haven't read this one. This is Botanical Folk Tales of Britain and Ireland. It's by Lisa Schnuday. I think I've said that right. And it's just about folklore tales of the area where I live. This was one of the first books I ever bought when I realised I was on this witchcraft path. Cunningham's Encyclopedia of Magical Herbs. I think if you are interested in this path, then this is the way forward. And then this one I recently found in a charity shop for a couple of £2, and I absolutely love it. So this is The Woman's Book of Healing Herbs. I think growing more herbs and getting into herbalism for me is like the next step after flower essences. Again, look how beautifully illustrated this book is. It's just gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. So you can see here the book covers, oh my gosh, it's so heavy. The book covers making herbal medicines, dried herbs, teas and infusions. You've got tinctures, baths, compresses, poultices, infused oils, syrups, creams, suppositories, salves, loads and loads of different ways of using herbs. It also does aromatherapy and flower essences. It talks about the healing power of herbs. It gives you a way to search with the affliction. You've got herbal tonics, a chapter all about that. Herbs for beauty, so glamour magic would come in. Herbs, part 8 is herbs for emotional healing. Just such a powerhouse of information in that one. So that was a really exciting find. And then Flower Power by Anne McKintry, flower remedies for healing body and soul through herbalism, homeopathy, aromatherapy and flower essences. Again, the illustrations in this book are just stunning. You've got all the plants described, but these beautiful photographs and beautiful drawings as well. So it's just something I'm really interested in. I mean, look at this. This looks like a Victorian nature diary. It's just so stunning. So that I'm really interested to delve into as well. So these two books are about like Spells in the Wild and The Wild Remedy. This is absolutely beautiful. This is by Emma Mitchell. This is just like a nature diary, and it's just so inspirational. It's basically her going out into nature and like healing herself through being in nature and writing a diary. So that is totally inspirational, I think, for anybody like wanting to do nature journaling. And then this one I haven't read. This is A Spell in the Wild. So this is by Alice Tarbuck. This is a set of reflections then written down throughout the year about magic in the everyday, about just the things around us, the place we are. And I love that idea. So I'm really interested to read that. We come to some works by Corinne Boyer, who I think is a fantastic writer about green witchcraft. I would love all of her books. I've only got two. This is one that I bought because my front garden is full of brambles and blackberries. I wanted to see the witchcraft behind that. So I have read part of this. It begins with the blackberry and it's absolutely fascinating. I was trying to decide whether to cut all the blackberry back or whether to keep them. Having read this, I definitely want to keep them. So this is from a trilogy of books. Like I said, I want them all, but I haven't got them all. It takes you through a few plants and the magic. So you've got the blueberry, you've got nightshade, English ivy, tansy, teasel. So it gives you like broom, burdock, dock, violet, dandelion, plantain, clover. It tells you through the year about, you know, what comes into play through the year. And I just think the way she writes about plants is just, it's magic in itself. And then I've got this tiny little book about dream divination plants in the Northern European tradition. And it's about linking plants and like dream worlds. Okay, there are a couple of books here that I got recommended via YouTube. I haven't read them yet. We've got Witchcraft into the Wilds and The Kitchen Witchcraft Garden Magic by Rachel Patterson, who has a YouTube channel. So this is about using like things you find around you, like sticks and stones, everyday magic with things in the wild. So you don't need like to go and spend fortune on witchcraft tools. This is about different forms of witchcraft magic as well. So you've got things like garden altars, the flow of magic in a garden space, crystals in the garden, colour magic in the garden, gardening by the moon, all sorts of ideas for garden magic, which is going to be really exciting to read. Okay, the next group of books is about my pull to dirt and cemeteries. I am currently reading Taryn's Conjuring Dirt. Of course, Taryn has a YouTube channel as well. Taryn works a lot with the dirt under her feet, which is what I feel my practice is as well. So this is the magic of footprints, the magic of crossroads and the magic of graveyards. I'm loving it so far. You can see I'm about that far in. I am really loving it. A great addition to my bookshelf, I think. In that same vein, I have been reading through this, Working in the Boneyard. This is a book about working within graveyards and ways you can work with graveyard dirt. So you've got words of caution, how to choose a cemetery, reading graveyard signs and symbols, which I've done. I didn't even realise that was in there. I've done that. Gravestone rubbings, graveyard etiquette, haunted graveyards, graveyard dirt, time and moon phase correspondences, graveyard work. So there's all sorts of spells for working in a graveyard. I thought these two kind of went together, as did this one, these silent mansions, a life in graveyards. So this is part social history, part personal meditation and holy enchanting. Sounds like the most beautiful book that is just calling me at the moment, that pull to graveyards, places of escape. Like in my liminality video, I explained how my first place of escape was sitting on the graveyard wall, which I recently returned to and got graveyard soil from. So this is very much part of my practice at the moment. So you've got all sorts of ideas and sort of poetic descriptions of that very practice in this book, which I'm really, really excited to read. What else have we got? We have the secret language of herbs. So this is very much, again, that idea of the stories and the secret language behind flowers and herbs. We've got this little book, Discovering the Folklore of Plants by Margaret Baker. Again, beautifully illustrated with line drawings. And then we've got a few books I've still to read about trees. So we've got Tree Wisdom, the definitive guidebook to the myth, folklore and healing power of trees. We've got Peter Holobend's The Hidden Life of Trees, what they feel, how they communicate, discoveries from a secret world. This is a book to just throw in your bag. What is that tree? So tree identification, and the forest in folklore and mythology. So loads of info about trees. I think walking regularly through the woods with my dogs, it makes that idea of other realms that people are trying to discover in witchcraft so tangible. Like, we don't have to look so far, the other realms are right there. Like the way trees communicate through their roots, like it's not some woo-woo idea, the other realm. I mean, I recently got, over the last few years, I've got super interested in mushrooms, she says, knocking all the book pile over. But I've just brought this, Entangled Life, How Fungi Make Our Worlds, Change Our Minds and Shape Our Futures. Like, once I started reading about mushrooms through library books and realised that there was a whole layer under the ground of the world of mushrooms, and that the mushroom above the soil is just like the fruit of the tree, the actual mushroom tree itself is underground. That idea of that sort of secret realm, it blew me away. And I've tried to find a local mushroom hunting group. I cannot find one anywhere, but I did find one, but it was disbanded. This is a beautiful book that my friend Shannon sent me. Her library was throwing it out, so she grabbed it for me. I mean, look at the illustrations in this, just beautiful. Love that idea of finding other realms that are like real and tangible. So this is a beautiful book. This is The Witch's Garden. This is from the Royal Botanic Gardens of Kew. They do a series of books like this, the Kew Garden books, and they are so beautifully done. So again, you've got sort of individual plants, but it gives you a real interesting backstory to how plants were used in medicine and why certain plants became the plants that they would use. It talks about the history of the doctors coming up with these herbal apothecaries, and then it intersperses it with pages that are so beautifully documented about individual plants. So you can see it takes you from superstition to science and back. It gives you information about some of the key players in this line and just how it all developed. It's just such a beautiful book, and I've loved this one. The Druid Garden is one I haven't read yet. It's by Luke Eastwood. I certainly feel like my path is very druidic and nature based, and when I saw this title I just grabbed it. So why a Druid Garden? Gardening through the ages, sacred soil, composting, turning death into life, planning the garden, plants as living beings, connecting with plants, trees, shrubs, sacred food. My goodness, I've literally just wrote that in my grimoire as a way forward for next year, to delve into sacred food. That's going to help me with my health journey, the 4 elements, pests and diseases. So it's part practical, part spiritual, and I just think you can tell from those titles how useful that could be. So again, more mythic and magical folklores. Whenever I see a secondhand book like this, I will pick it up. Gathering Moss by Robin Wall Chimera. So this is a book that delves into moss. It was a book that I bought to join in with a book club. I've forgotten the channel's name. Oh my gosh, it's gone out of my head. I'll link it on screen. I bought the book and then never read it, so that's another one that I need to read. This is a Michael J. Rhodes book, A Spiritual Adventure, A Journey into Nature. So this is a book charting a sort of spiritual meditation, sort of astral plane journey into nature. So becoming water, becoming mineral, becoming animal, becoming dolphin, entering another realm. So this is a book charting those meditations where you go into other planes. I haven't read it yet, but I thought that sounded fascinating. This is another one of these What's That book. So what's that flower? This is sort of wildflowers of the UK. I thought that was worth getting to throw into my bag. Folk Witchcraft, A Guide to Law, Land and the Familiar Spirit for the Solitary Practitioner. Again, part practical, really a great little book. You can see I've got notes in there. So law, land, the familiar spirit, basic rites, Sabbath rites, conjurations, charms. A great little book if you are working with the land or dirt or plants in any way. There are The Elements of Natural Magic by Marion Green. This is another book I found secondhand. So this talks about working with nature, herb, plant and tree law, sacred waters, the flame and the form, sense and sensitivity, imminent deities, seasons, cycles and feasts. So there are some different aspects of natural magic in this book. Then the last few, this is another secondhand book that I found about garden spells. When you open it up, it is just so beautifully illustrated. Look at these illustrations. It almost looks like a children's book. I just fell in love with it when I saw it. Its contents are sort of the magical garden, mythology of flowers, fairies, spell weaving and the angels of the garden, garden creatures, grottos and garden nooks. So I think for a magical gardener this is a gorgeous little book. A 101 of herbal remedies as well. Like I say, these little 101 books I think are just so useful. They don't look particularly witchy, but they are just so useful as a step-by-step guide. Another book about bark flower remedies. This is a step-by-step guide to those. Another Caitlin Matthews book, The Celtic Tradition. And lastly, we have a book by Ellen Duggan. I've also got her book, Cottage Witchery as well. This is garden witchery. It's okay. I find it slightly simple. It goes through the solstices. Would I recommend this one? kind of not. It's very simple. It's magic from the ground up. Wasn't quite as in depth as I wanted it to be, that one. So that's it, guys. That's my shelf of sort of flower based, tree based, gardening based books. Did we miss one? We did. There's another book about healing flowers there. Like I said, a lot of these have been found secondhand, but it doesn't surprise me that this has been like one of the key areas I've been fascinated with. I think what I'm learning from doing this bookcase tour is to look to the things that you naturally love. Like I said, I've always done art, I've always gardened, I've always worked with the Morrigan without realising it. I think witchcraft, sometimes it's almost like a mirror to your own self. Like you see yourself reflected back in the path you're going on. It's not like a separate journey. It's a moment upon moment of, oh my gosh, I do that anyway, kind of thing. So that is my sort of green witchcraft shelf. Okay, so it seems that my inability to stop talking has created another nearly 40-minute video. So I'm going to have to stop there. I've done one shelf, guys. So I have inadvertently turned this into a bookcase tour series. It's not going to be done in 2 videos either. So what have we got left? We've got 1, 2 and a bit, 3. We've also got this bookcase here. We've also got fiction books if you're interested there. We've got a few more shelves to go. So I hope you're enjoying the bookcase tour series, which is what it has now become. So thanks, guys, anyway, for watching part 2, which turned into all of my green witchcraft books. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. Bye.